Howdy, howdy. Sue Devil here, and welcome to some unit testing. So not some really thorough unit testing in terms of taking data. Really, this is getting to know your lords and heroes and their capabilities a little bit better to really understand what they're capable of doing and what they're not, where you have to be careful and where you don't, and why you might pick some lords or heroes as opposed to others. And the first part in really this series, I guess, or this set of tests so that we can gain some understanding is, I think it's important for anybody to really understand how your heroes fare against infantry units, especially for the dwarfs. You need to know when is a good time to bring your hero into a battle with enemy infantry, how good you can expect your hero or lord to do, and when you should be very careful. So the first set of tests I'm going to do is I'm just going to take up our heroes with and without their abilities up against a basic unit of Saurus warriors with shields. These guys come in at 800 gold. They have decent armor, but they're not like 100 armor. They don't have armor piercing, though they have decent armor piercing as part of their weapon strength. You know, the lizardmen, Saurus warriors with shields, is just a nice stable unit that you could expect to see on the battlefield if you were going to play against the lizardmen. So I want to go over each of our units. So the first unit we're going to go over is the Thane. Now, when you strip down the Thane, it costs 650, so he is quite a bit cheaper than the Saurus warriors. But how will that Thane do up against a unit of infantry like the Saurus warriors? I know if you've done any of this testing yourself, you know exactly how the Thane will do and what to expect. But and I have done a lot of testing, which is, I guess, why you will see me often not bring a lot of heroes, because they are a little bit more risky. I gotta change this, so we're just gonna send him into fight. They're kind of coming in at 59, 40, something like that, and really you can see the Thane is not doing a bunch of damage. He will kind of get in there and start getting beat up pretty badly, and the Saurus warriors with shields are really winning that pretty handily. Now, the Thane doesn't have a lot of armor piercing damage in his weapon strength. He only has 125, but that's plenty enough to kill a Saurus warriors. But it's really a numbers game, and how many units do your lords and heroes hit, and that is particularly why some lords are very good compared to others in a matchup like this. But your Thanes generally aren't. Now, against a unit like Saurus warriors, they're just, you know, they're just not going to be in a good place. Sometimes you have to, sometimes they can get in a rear charge, and that can be very good. But in general, you can see the Thane with no abilities is getting beaten pretty handily. He's taken not quite half health. They had about 4,000 left, but we'll look at that. He killed 18 in that battle. So now we're going to go to the Thane, and we're going to give him his abilities, and I'll just try and pop them off. So his abilities are Deadly Onslaught, that plus 36% charge bonus, and that costs 154 gold, plus 20% armor piercing, and plus 20% weapon damage. Not wonderful on the Thane because he doesn't have a big chunk of armor piercing, but good if you're going up against other heroes. Foe Seeker, which can be decent. You know, it's only 76 gold, and it's going to give him plus 24% speed, so he'll get up to, I guess, kind of 36, 38 speed, 39 speed, somewhere in there. And it does give him vigor, which is good. Now, this ability, the Tormentor Sword, is excellent. That's why most people bring the Thane. Minus 26 melee attack, and the unit hit with it, unit or units hit with it in the 30-meter range can't move for 9 seconds. And this is also a very good ability. Master Rune of Stromny Redbeard gives everyone around him plus 5 melee attack and plus 4 leadership, but it is quite expensive at 219 gold. So now this Thane is basically almost double the cost with all his abilities. Oh, I should have changed it from defender to attacker. I'll try and remember to change it next time. Just makes the test go a little bit faster. But how will the Thane do in this configuration? So we'll grab him and start to go, and I will want to pop that Deadly Onslaught before he gets there. So that, that. Get all his abilities off so he can get in and start getting some good damage done early. And he's got his buffs on the go. And he does have that +5 melee attack, so he's got 50 melee attack and 50 melee defense. And Thanes are actually pretty tanky when they're fighting other heroes. I mean, they don't kill them fast, but they don't die super fast either. And they do buff the leadership of your other units because they have Encourage. They have 25% magic resistance, 15% missile resistance, and they're shielded. But you can still see he's still losing, you know, pretty badly. I missed my buffs there. I don't know how much I missed them by, but it doesn't really matter. So we'll end that battle. And I think last time they killed 18-ish, and this time he killed 18-ish. It didn't really seem to make that much of a difference, you know, in terms of that extra 600 gold. So when you look at these abilities, you need to have a very specific goal in mind. Here, I'm just going to change the attacker and defender and make sure we get a Saurus Warrior of Shields. He killed 18. I'm just going to do that one again. Again, I know these types of videos aren't for everyone. I might have some amount of summary or discussion at the end, but this is for people who want to go through these tests and understand their lords a little bit better. So I'm just going to do this test one more time to make sure I don't miss any of my abilities. He killed 18 last time, so we're going to just ensure I get the maximum ability count out of my Thane in this fight to see if I can do a little bit better. Like, I don't know. I had it on fast forward, so I might have missed 20 seconds. Who knows? So get that going. And I'll just use the Tormentor Sword, and I'll just pay attention to when these things come off cooldown. But he got his charge in, he's got his abilities going, and this Foe Seeker is going to come up first, and then we get the Tormentor Sword, and then Deadly Onslaught. But you know, this will your Thane will reliably lose in this fight. I mean, it's just not generally because, and you know, Saurus Warriors are a pretty good mid-tier unit. There's no doubt about that. But your Thane just is, unless you have to, don't throw him in. You know, he can be pretty decent on a rear charge to route something, and you know, he can give your unit some leadership bonuses for sure. Yeah, this looks like we're doing a lot better here. I'm just hitting my buffs right when I get them, so we might get this Deadly Onslaught off. It's 30 seconds away, maybe. I'm just spam clicking it to make sure I do get it off. If I get it, there we go. And there he goes. So in that battle, we got 18 last time, 19 this time. So really not even close to taking out that unit. They have far more than half their health. And they actually get a lot of experience for beating down your lords. So I want to also take a look at the Clan Angren Thanes. That Thane was 20 or 1251. So we'll look at the Clan Angren Thanes. This is the tanky Thane. So we'll take a look at Halkenhoff Stonebeard first. He has 38 melee attack and 60 melee defense, so he's your really tanky Thane. Let me see, and let's just make sure he has all his abilities. He's got the same set of abilities, but he's 1601, so he's 400 more, but he does have 75% physical resistance, and he does cause fear and terror, and he is unbreakable. So let's put him into that fight and see how we do. And we got 18 or 19 kills with our regular Thane, and this guy, when you bring him, if you bring him in the right situation, he's really tanky and with that 60 melee defense, so he can be pretty good. So we'll start that. We'll get all our abilities off, and just let him fight away. And I'll make sure I spam click my abilities again to make sure I get those off. Okay, it's going to be Foe Seeker that's up, and then Tormentor Sword, and then Deadly Onslaught, so that we can maximize the use of his abilities. But again, he's losing even though he's ethereal, and he takes a lot less damage, and he's 400 more. You know, he's at 1600, which is a full double the price of these Saurus Warriors with shields. You know, but he's definitely doing better as an ethereal unit than our regular Thane did, and he costs 400 more, so you would expect it. I mean, these guys are pretty vulnerable in the wrong situation if you're coming up against a faction that has death magic, Spirit Leech in particular, or big things like Final Transmutation, or Empire that has the Accusation, or these types of things. It can be a really bad choice. And it looks like he's doing all right. We're getting his ability. We're cycling through his abilities pretty well, and he does cause fear and terror. So he's got those guys scared, and he might be able to rout them off. We'll see. But he's lasting a very long time, and he's got 28 kills now. So he's actually doing quite a bit better, and noticeably so. Alright, come on, get that foe seeker off. We're definitely going to get that deadly onslaught off, I think. Yeah. He's only got 200 hit points left. We might be able to get another, no, 139, 126. Tormentor Sword, can we get it? Yep. 9 hit points, and away he goes. So you can see he got 38 kills, double the regular Thane, but he is 400 gold more, and he does have some potential problems. But 38 kills, not too bad. You know, he performed pretty well, but he still loses. Saurus Warriors got 2 chevrons, and there you got a full third of their hit points and half of their models left. So that's still not a victory, because he costs 1,600, they cost 800. You know, this is really to demonstrate the danger you can be in by just putting in your lords against mid-tier infantry. They're generally safe against low tier. So we're going to grab the Rune Lord, that Kinglan Ironhammer, and he has definitely got way better melee attack at 55. He does magic damage, 50 melee defense, and we'll make sure he has all his items. He costs the same at 1601. So we're going to put him up at against these Saurus Warriors and see if he can do better than 30, was it 39 kills? 39-ish, 38, somewhere in there. We'll see how he can do in this fight. I'm trying to just remember to stay absolutely on top of my buffs. Okay. Okay, so I just made sure, just trying to make sure they don't get their charge when I'm using this Tormentor Sword, but he does a lot more damage. You can see he's just beating the tar out of them. So melee damage seems to be more important than melee defense in some senses when you're facing infantry. So we'll keep that going, because he is definitely putting a hurt on these guys. And remember, he causes fear and terror, and I don't believe these guys are immune to fear and terror. No, they're not immune to psychology. So, but you know, losing. Oh no, we're winning. We're winning so far. I was gonna say, I was looking at the Saurus Warriors' health, and I thought, oh, we're losing pretty bad, but no. So we're doing all right. We'll just keep going through our buffs. Oh, he's starting to lose now. We should get another deadly onslaught off for sure, and then another foe seeker. Let's get that going. Down to 300 health. Are we gonna get another Tormentor Sword off? We might. 200 health, 199. Spam click it. Come on, get it off. Ah, he died. Okay. So he was definitely killing a lot faster, and he did end up killing more at 43. But he's generally about as valuable as the other Thane in the matchup against infantry. He would definitely be better up against other lords and heroes. There's just no doubt about that. So we'll go back to the dwarfs and just make sure. Okay, we got that. So the next hero we're going to take a look at is our Runesmith. So again, we're going to strip him down, make sure he has nothing. Alright, he comes on the field at 600, he's very cheap, and Runesmiths are pretty vulnerable, but they can last against low tier infantry. Low tier non-armor piercing infantry like spearmen, this type of thing, you can throw them in there, they're going to last just fine, but this is a mid-tier type of infantry, so you do have to be pretty careful, and we'll just take a look at how careful you have to be. I think our Thanes were killing 18, 19. We'll see how many our Rune Lord gets. Well, he's got 2. 4, he's coming up. You know, he does have 320 weapon damage. He just doesn't quite have as good melee attack and melee defense stats. So, 90 armor piercing damage, which isn't bad. He's got 6 kills. He's definitely losing, though. You know, but he'll keep fighting. But this is, again, not a battle you want to get him in. Against low tier infantry, definitely. Put him in there and get him to fight. He can recharge the Hammer of Karak draws and this types of things. So, end that battle. And he got 11 kills. So let's go give him all his abilities. Now, we know that, okay, so we're going to give him Forge Fire for the 10% armor piercing, Rune of Oath and Steel for that plus 30 armor, Rune of Wrath and Rune for the damage spell, the Rune of Negation for 22% damage resistance, the Hammer of Carrick Draws for minus 44 melee attack, minus 25% weapon damage, and I'm going to give the Master Rune of Groth One Eye just because. That plus 8 leadership will matter. So he comes onto the field fully decked out at 13-18. Let's see how he can do if we use all of his abilities. So, and I think you can get all 4 of them off with this guy, or maybe it's the other guy, the ethereal one. Let's just start. Let's make sure we use that. And I'm going to make sure I use the Hammer of Carrick Draws. And I'm just going to use those, even though it's hard to say what is the most efficient. Like, I've got so much mitigation right now because the Hammer of Carrick Draws is on these guys. These guys have, what, 0 melee attack? And I've got the Rune of Oath and Steel. I might be able to use sort of a better sequence of using my abilities, but really I just want to use them as frequently as possible and cycle through them as often as possible so I can get the most kills and mitigate the most possible damage. You know, again, there's likely some sort of best scenario cycle for doing this, but yeah, I think he can get all 4. You can see he's doing not too bad. You know, Runesmith with all his abilities is pretty powerful unit. You know, even against a mid-tier infantry, even when he's fighting, you know, this is not the best case scenario. Like, you generally don't want him in there fighting, but if he's got runes to help him, you know, he can hold his own for a while. You generally wouldn't want to put him in there, but you know, clearly this is not the end of the world, and he is getting some kills. Oh, is he gonna last? Nope, not quite. So end the battle. 36 kills, very respectable. And, you know, not too bad for your Runesmith. Again, you wouldn't want to put him in there, but understand, this is so we can understand, even with all his abilities, one unit of Saurus Warriors are going to be able to handle him generally. You know, your heroes are really mostly for support, and that's what this is showing. So we're going to go and get Clan Angrand. And he's our regular Runesmith was in at 13-18. Let's grab, is this our Runesmith? No, that is our, there's Throny. There we go. We got all his abilities. He's got the same set. He's in at 17-18, so 400 more. And let's see if he can beat these guys. You know, it should be based on the test we did with the Thane. He should be able to do better than our regular Runesmith, so let's get him going. Get that on. And I just want to make sure I get these on properly. Okay. Okay, we'll get this going. Alright. So again, just like before, that Hammer of Carrick Draws is mitigating a lot of damage. They have 0 melee attack. So we'll just try and do it in as close to the exact same sequence as we did it last time. And I'll try and be fairly fast with my Runes of Wrath and Rune, and making sure I'm spam clicking these abilities so that I get them off. And you can see it looks as though he's winning, even though the Saurus Warriors with shields believe that they're the ones that are doing the winning here. Alright, get this off. We'll get our Rune of Wrath and Rune off. Spam click our Rune of Oath and Steel. And I think a Rune of Negation will be up next, and then we'll get our last Rune of Wrath and Rune. Alright. Yeah, seems to be doing alright. Hopefully that Fear and Terror will kick in. Now this is where the Fear and Terror can really help against like the Beastmen and factions like the Greenskins that are really susceptible to that mechanic. And you can see he seems to be pulling away quite nicely now. And you wouldn't normally use these abilities on these units. I just want to show what the total potential is. Like, you wouldn't be using the Hammer of Carrick Draws on Saurus Warriors. You'd be using them on Kroq-Gar, you know. But again, just to show the potential of these units and what they can do. See, these guys should be scared. Am I missing anything? No. What's coming up first? This one, and then a hammer of Carrick draws. Get that going. Come on, 200 hit points. You can do it. Oh, is he gonna lose? Get those buffs off. That's the last set of buffs. He got 146 hit points left, and he's not terrifying these guys. They're frightened, but they're just not losing enough of their stats. He's got 2 hit points left, and he lost. Okay. 41 kills, better than our regular runesmith, but he still lost. So we have yet to have a unit beat these Saurus warriors with shields. Now, just for fun's sake, we'll grab the Master Engineer. We're just going to take his abilities off and not use the Fire Ring of Thori or Rune of Slowness, just to show him in melee combat, because he does have armor piercing damage, but he has pretty weak stats. Like, he's obviously not going to be meant to go into melee combat ever, but just to be thorough to show the difference, I'm going to take him off and get him into that fight. And you can see, yeah, he's got 38 melee attack and 30 melee defense, so he's, even though he has good armor piercing damage, well, decent, 220. He's very, very vulnerable, very squishy, and I don't think he does big splash attacks. Like, he might have a small one, but yeah, he gets beat up pretty badly. And he got 2 kills, so performed the worst by a mile. Now, he would do better if he was shooting, I mean, obviously. So let's go over to, we still got that. Okay, we've gone through our heroes, so let's go through our basic lord. So we're going to take the abilities off him, make sure he's got nothing. So how is our basic lord going to do stripped down? Remember, our basic Thane was kind of doing 18-19. We had some Thanes get up to 40 kills, fully decked out, and our ethereal Thanes at 1600. How will our basic lord do in this? So we'll take a look, get him into that fight. And all your lords do some amount of splash damage. I think, you know, Thorgrim and Belagar Ironhammer do the most, like can hit the most targets at 8. And I believe Ungrim Iron Fist does the least, and it might be 5. I'm not quite sure. I remember reading it, and I know there's going to be someone who asks, where did you read that? And I can't remember. I know I saw a really nice forum post somewhere where it went over how many units at once your lords and heroes can hit, and it was actually quite good. Like, you know, that's, you know, it's intuitive that Ungrim would be more of a duelist and Thorgrim would be more of a tank. You see 16 kills, kind of about the same as the Thane, maybe a little bit less, and definitely not good as good as our decked out Thanes. But let's deck him out. He does have Foe Seeker, stand your ground, plus 27 melee defense, plus 16 leadership. It's not nothing. This Silverhorn of Vengeance, the worst ability in all the dwarf lineup, but we're taking it. 36% charge bonus, but this Banner of Lost holds is actually pretty good. Plus 5 melee attack and 6% weapon damage. So now he's coming at 1416, 1467. Let's see how he does on his own in this fight. Just our basic lord, and then we will move on to our Rune Lord next, I believe. Alright, so let's get him fighting. Okay, what am I going to do here? And I make sure I get that Silverhorn of Vengeance off. This. Get them all off. There we go. So he's got a big charge bonus, and we'll get that fight going. And he does have 50 melee attack and 87 melee defense. Well, 60 melee defense now, but I mean, he's, you know, reasonably tanky and a little bit better. I think, what did he get? 14 kills last time. Let's see what he does this time. We'll just spam click Foe Seeker before, because that vigor is going to be a little more important than the charge bonus. We'll get ready for stand your ground. This is actually a very nice ability. You know, these guys have 28 melee attack. He's got 87 melee defense. They're basically going to be hitting 10% of the time. Looks like Foe Seeker and Silverhorn of Vengeance are on the same cooldown. 60 seconds. Spam click that Foe Seeker. And you can see we're definitely doing better. We've already got 21 kills. We're, you know, it looks like it might be possible that we're going to win this. You know, dwarves tend to... their leadership is good in the fourth quarter, but their defensive stats are not. So they can fade in the fourth quarter in these really, really atrocious battles, because of their armor is not as effective, nor is their melee defense, which is something that dwarfs have very well. But let's go, buddy. Let's get if we get another standard ground, we might be able to take them. Let's see. All right, there we go. We got the leadership and the melee defense. We got that foe seeker, Silverheart of Vengeance. Are we gonna make it? Doesn't look like it. Looks like they still think they're winning, and all of our buffs are gone. But we've definitely killed a lot of them. More than anyone else so far, for sure. Yep, so we lost. But 53 kills. It's the closest we've got, I think, in general, in getting all the kills. Not too bad. But still, vulnerable. Got to be careful about putting your lord, your regular lord, into that fight. So let's go grab ourselves a rune lord. Make sure he has no abilities. He is very, very cheap. But he, well, we'll see. We'll get him in there against these guys, and we'll go see. He's 800. These guys are 800. Let's see how many kills he gets. I mean, 19 for the Thane. What, 53 for our lord, our decked out lord, which is the best so far. No one has beaten the Saurus Warriors yet, though our rune lord with our rune smith, our ethereal rune smith, did seem to get the closest. So let's start that fight. This is the cheapest lord you can get on the field for 800 gold. I mean, decent enough stats, 40 and 45, but not generally compared to other lords and heroes. He only has 340 weapon damage, 100 of that is armor piercing. It doesn't look like he does a giant splash attack. I mean, he'll have some splash in that for sure, but he doesn't have a ton of killing power, because his melee attack is not sort of like the other lords, and that's not what he's meant. A rune lord is more of a support lord in every way I can think of, especially when you know, you're not just bringing him cheap at 800, you're bringing him to really do some work. But he's now got 10 kills, 11 kills. So not as good as a Thane, but better than a Master Engineer. You know, I guess we would say that's 5.5 times better than a Master Engineer, something like that. The Master Engineer get 2 or 3, I can't remember. All right, of course, but he was not shooting. I don't want to. So let's put him on his Anvil of Doom, give him all of his abilities. And we're even going to give him the missile resistance, just because his top price is 2138. I know that doesn't matter, but let's just see how he does with his max loadout and using all his skills on those Saurus Warriors. And of course, getting in there and fighting and being on his Anvil of Doom. Definitely has more health. Okay, get this. Get that Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin off, and get in there fighting. We'll just use all our buffs as quick as I can. Again, that's not the best, no doubt not the absolute best way to do all this. It's just, you know, I want to get them all off as quick as I can, so it's more of a standard test, a test that you can repeat yourself. And when you try and, you know, get fancy with tests, it gets much harder to repeat. So that's why I'm just trying to make my tests as simple as possible, so that they're much easier to repeat. Alright, we got one more Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin. Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin is very good. So it does a lot of damage, and does, you know, good damage to, you know, even a really expensive units like Chosen or Great Swords or this type of thing. Gets that speed debuff. It's just a great all-arounder. Are we gonna make it? Come on, spam click that 60 armor. That 60 armor is gonna matter. Come on, buddy, keep going. You can do it. Ah, not quite. So end the battle. So with all his abilities, he's got 31. Respectable, but again, you would say don't put your Rune Lord into a fight with mid-tier infantry. Which, I mean, you would expect, but again, I just want to show the difference. And now we will get to, let's do Belegar Ironhammer. Now, Belegar is a very tanky lord, and he's cheap at 1150. And he has the maximum splash damage he can get. He can hit 8 units. Let's see how he does against these Saurus Warriors with shields with no abilities whatsoever. You know, again, just want to see that base and then the max, and then you can make your own judgments on what in between sort of looks like. So come on, Belegar, get in there and kick some butt. God, I love Belegar. He looks so good. And I've got to do a clan Angron campaign for sure. But you can see he's winning. He thinks he's winning. These guys think they're losing. So that's definitely not bad. And he's got no abilities whatsoever, and he was like 1150. And you can see Belegar is just a good tanky lord, good against infantry. And this is where, you know, even against a mid-tier is going to do good against your lords, but you know, he can really mush up low-tier infantry. Now he's kind of fading a little bit in the fourth quarter here, but we'll get some abilities on him and see how he does. He's definitely taken some health off them. 29 kills, you know, with no extra abilities at 1150. 30 kills, not too bad. 32. So he's done definitely the best at 32 kills with no extra abilities. So at 1150, not too bad. So we're going to put the Rally, 16 Leadership, Mighty Oath Stone, 27 melee defense, Revenge Incarnate, you get 1 use plus 44 melee attack, plus 16 leadership, plus 50% weapon damage. And that's generally a single target, but he's also got the Hammer of Angrund, so it's disabled if his leadership is lower than 50%, but if it's not, it's just on himself, plus 15% armor piercing damage, plus 9 melee attack, which is very good, plus 15% weapon damage, and plus 16% charge bonus. Again, generally this is not the greatest ability because it's only on him. You know, and it's 215, but he comes in at max expense at 1827. Let's see if he can take those Saurus warriors with all of his abilities. And in this one, I will save his leadership ability for the very end. I just want to have it handy. This plus 16 leadership, because it's not going to help anywhere else. So we'll start that battle. Okay. And make sure we get this going, and we'll get that Revenge Incarnate going, so we can 113 melee attack. That's really good. He's definitely, look at how fast he's killing them. That's really, really good. But now he only gets 1 use of that Revenge Incarnate. This Mighty Oath Stone is pretty nice. It's not super expensive either, but you can see he's doing quite good. Again, I just want to save that plus 16 leadership for the end of the battle if it's close. There's no sense in using it. So now he's got 82 melee defense, 69 melee attack, doing pretty well. It's hard to say though. A lot like, again, the dwarfs having such high armor and such high melee defense can fade a bit in the fourth quarter, but I think he's gonna take it. It looks like he's gonna. Yeah, it definitely looks like he's going to. We'll get that Mighty Oath Stone off one more time. And yeah, these guys look like they're gonna go. And he's got what, 1300, 1200 health out of 4100, so 25% of his health. Alright, Belegar, good job. So he killed a mid-tier infantry unit. Again, it's a atrocious trade. It's not something you would want to do, but Belegar came through and was the first lord to win this against mid-tier infantry. 62 kills. Alright. So let's pull up Ungram Iron Fist next. So there we go. Ungram, strip him down. And Ungram is actually a very competitive lord. He is cheap at 1350. He has a bonus versus large and armor piercing, and he's unbreakable. So he's one of your most competitive lords, and he's good in every single matchup. I don't think he has a bad matchup that I can think of. There could be better choices though, depending on your build and stuff, but he's just a very reliable, predictable lord. But he's not super great in infantry engagements because he doesn't have the most massive splash damage. But I mean, he's going to put a hurt on these guys because every time he hits one, he's going to kill one, or 4, or however many he hits with a splash attack. He's already got what, 9 kills. You know, yeah, he thinks he's winning. It's not too bad. He's losing on health, it looks like though, but on what the units evaluate as winning or losing, it looks like he thinks he's winning. Okay, now the Saurus warriors think they're winning. Yeah, he's got 25 kills at 1350, 27, and going up fast. Not too bad for a lord that's at 1350 and can be used against large and other heroes. He's really, really good. Again, though, it's not really a great idea to throw him into an infantry engagement, because even against mid-tier infantry, he is losing. And so that can be pretty bad. So let's go see. How many kills did he get? 44. Just a bare knuckle, you know, no abilities, 44 kills. Not bad at all. Alright, so let's beef him up. We'll give him Death Blow, so when his hit points are below 20%, he has 15% extra armor piercing and 15% extra weapon damage. Foe Seeker for that speed buff and vigor buff. Deadly Onslaught, which is actually great on him, because 36% charge bonus, 20% armor piercing damage, and 20% weapon damage means something, because he has a charge bonus of 50. And the Axe of Dargo, plus 40% armor piercing damage and plus 32 bonus versus large, with 227 is quite expensive. So let's get him on the field at 1845 and see if we can get this done. Cheering for you, Arngrim. Alright. Even though he doesn't have the best splash damage, he's just like every time he hits something, he kills it, basically. Alright. Let's make sure, which do I want to have? We'll get that. Foe Seeker, I just want to make sure I get these off. Foe Seeker and that. And there we go, the Axe of Dargo. And then we'll just get everything else going. So he's gonna, yeah, he's already got like 12 kills. He's just everything he hits, he kills right now at the very beginning. And we'll get everything off. But he takes a lot of damage because he has only 35 melee defense. In this one, he's actually taking way more damage than he did in the last one. Just randomness, really. That's what that is. You can see he's already below 1,000 hit points. You know, and when his melee defense is so low, he can be prone to that. Hopefully we can get off another Axe of Dargo. Maybe not. Only 200 hit points. I'm just going to spam click it. Come on, buddy. Get her. Get her. And he's got his ability going off. But he was not able to do it. So he actually got fewer kills with all of his abilities, which shows that he can be a little bit random. These are kind of the random results depending on how many things you're hitting. So, you know, I guess the moral of the story is Ungrim Iron Fist kills stuff fast, but don't put him up against mid-tier infantry. So let's take a look at Grombrindle, the White Dwarf. Alright, take all his abilities off. Those are all off. Alright. It comes in at 1650, so he's 300 more than Ungrim Iron Fist stripped down. Ungrim got 44 kills and 39 kills. Which is odd, but this really does, you know, this game has a lot of randomness in it, in just the attack animations hits. We're going to save that Grombrindle Has No Fear for the very end to see if we can make him last to the bitter end if he doesn't win. He comes in and he's winning. He has 70 melee attack, magic damage. He has really good armor piercing, so his 185 weapon damage out of the total of 500 is magical, and the 315 is armor piercing. So, which is how that splits out. Whose video did I watch to find that out? I can't remember the person's name right off the top of my head, but that's really neat. So I didn't understand magic damage completely. So basically, magic damage just replaces the weapon damage portion of your total weapon strength. So, and your armor piercing stays the same regardless, so magic damage does not affect your armor piercing portion. So how are we're getting close, we're getting low. Okay, I'm just going to use Grombrindle Has No Fear, try and make him fight right to the death if I can. Close, so he's going to rout right away. Okay, end that battle. 42 kills, about the same as Ungrim, but again, he's like 300 gold more expensive than Ungrim. Let's see if we can give him his abilities and make him go the distance. So his abilities are Foe Seeker, which we've seen. This Flash Bomb, which is really good. For 25 seconds, minus 27 melee defense, so it makes him kill really fast, and minus 76% speed. Like, this can be crushing against enemy flyers if they land and he catches them. The Rune Axe of Grombrindle, so you get every 120 seconds plus 40% armor piercing damage, and what you're hitting gets discouraged for 10 seconds, and minus 16 leadership. I mean, that could be really powerful in an infantry fight, because if you can break them and get them running, you know, that's fantastic. And plus 16 leadership if your hit points are greater than 50%. We'll just get it. 2330 is actually quite expensive at his top level, but it'd be rare that he brings him. But let's see if he can be the second lord to clean up these lizardmen. And I think he does one more splash attack than Angram, or two. One or two more, I can't remember exactly. But we've got him loaded out as basically as good as we can. Okay, let's make sure I remember what we have here. Okay, I want this flash bomb. Okay, lower their speed. Get that armor piercing, and we'll save the Grombrindle has no fear for the very end. Alright, so however these come up. But yeah, minus 27. They only have 7 melee defense, and he has 70 melee attack. So basically every swing of his axe he's going to be hitting. So we're going to get this Foe Seeker up first, and then the flash bomb. I just want to be, but he's taking a lot of damage. Like this could be a little bit wonky. That's why when I do proper testing, I like to do 7 tests, because you get outliers and it's hard to tell exactly what's going on. He's going to get that flash bomb again. Good. He's going to get another Rune Axe of Grombrindle. I might want to save that. I'm going to use it right when it comes up, just so I can, you know, I am going to save the Grombrindle has no fear for the very end. Foe Seeker, just so that this test is repeatable. 37. How is his leadership? Leadership still 71. Still looking good. Get that flash bomb going. 62. His leadership is at. It's really low health. 45. Gonna cast it and get that going. I might get another Rune Axe of Grombrindle. Maybe. That could turn the tide if I can get it off. Not quite. So he lost. He got 56 kills though, the highest amount of kills while still losing. So again, Grombrindle is an awesome lord, and that's actually a pretty nice ability, but he still lost to just the mid-tier infantry. Alright, let's get Thorgrim himself out on the battlefield. We'll take down all his abilities, and you can get him on the field for 1650. Again, he has magic damage, and magic damage is actually best paired with out big chunks of armor piercing damage, because now if you look, he has 170 armor piercing and he has 280 regular weapon damage, and that will all be magical damage when he hits. So that's actually pretty good. So he comes onto the field 1650, basically the same as Grombrindle, but we know Thorgrim does have a bigger cone and he hits more units. He's like Belegar Ironhammer when it comes to infantry. I think he can hit 8 units simultaneously, or with every swing, or however you want to say it. And he is very tanky. He has 62 melee defense, and he can hit stuff with 50 melee attack. He's no joke. So let's see how Thorgrim does in this fight. So these guys think they're losing, and Thorgrim thinks he's winning. It definitely looks like he's taking their health off and doing a good job. Doing a charge. He has, you know, pretty decent mass. He can get around. He still thinks he's winning, and he's, you know, it's atrocious for sure. But let's see how our High King does in this. Now he thinks he's losing. Yeah, it does look like he's losing the health battle a little bit. Yeah, Saurus Warriors they have 1300 extra hit points, and he is definitely not catching up. They are starting to pull away. So he is definitely, looks like he's going to lose this. He's got 21 kills. I would expect more from him in just his base lockdown state. 24 kills. Might get 20. Got 26. Not too bad. Alright. But even Thorgrim, very good in melee ruckuses. Only 28 kills stripped down. So let's give him a good loadout. Let's give him all his stuff. He's got that High King ability. If his leadership... if this will not work if his leadership is lower than 50%. Oh, and it only affects allies. And if his hit points have to be lower than 50%, yet his leadership has to be higher for 50%, and for 156 that is such a terrible ability. So we got Foe Seeker, we've got Stand Your Ground for the 27 melee defense and 16 leadership, and really this is his great ability, plus 9 melee attack for everybody. Comes onto the field at 2200, so he's going to make a lot better use of that splash attack and magic damage with the better, you know, 9% more. He's going to hit 9% more often. Okay, so let's make sure what abilities we want to use. Foe Seeker, and then alright. Get in there, buddy. He's at 89 melee defense, 59 melee attack. Now, yeah, so his melee attack and melee defense are both right around 60, and he definitely thinks he's winning. Let's make sure we spam click his abilities so I get them out on time and don't even miss a second in this fight. Yeah, this Stand Your Ground can be, you know, it's expensive, but could be better than you might think for even the dwarfs. Come on, Thorgrim. You can do better than that. It looks like he's losing a little bit of ground. What's his... He's very tired, so maybe we give him some vigor, give him a shot. Very tired still. We should get another shot of Stand Your Ground, and this should be able to get him right to the end, I'm thinking. There we go. Go on, Thorgrim. I don't even know how they're hitting him, but whatever. Very, very close. Keep it going, buddy. Nope, he is not going to make it. So, end battle. So he got only 42 kills in that with all his abilities. And it looks like Belegar Ironhammer was really the only lord. I know that Thorgrim is pretty good in that, but Thorgrim in at 2253. We can take a look at Belegar, who is actually very inexpensive for a lord. You know, even with all his abilities coming in at 1827. And, you know, do you really need Rally? It's only 69. It's not too bad. Revenge Incarnate can be pretty good, obviously. And his items, I don't know. So 1827, I mean, he's just a good choice if you want to get your lord into a lot of melee engagements. So he's pretty rugged. Belegar Ironhammer is no joke. So when you look at your general lineup, though, you got to be careful about getting your lords into those melee engagements. If you're coming in for a rear charge to try and get a rout or something like that, it can be good. But against even mid-tier infantry like Saurus Warriors without massive amounts of armor piercing, they will do poorly. You know, against low-tier infantry, I mean, we can grab, you know, some normal low-tier infantry, even grab some skinks, and let's just get our runesmith with no abilities, just for your curiosity and mine. These guys are worth 300. They have what, 5 armor piercing damage, and the skinks do not have good armor. They have 30 armor. Alright, so let's just see how our stripped down runesmith will do against these skinks. And I always like, if I see a unit like this, I'll always throw in my lords and my heroes into that fight to support it, because I know they're just going to do pretty good. I don't know if he'll actually take these guys or not, to be perfectly honest, but when he's all by himself, like when your lords are by themselves and your heroes are by themselves, they tend not to do all that wonderfully. So he may not even be able to take the skink cohorts, but he's going to last for quite a long time, because they have what, only 20 melee attack. He has 32 melee defense, so they're going to hit him, but their damage is going to be really mitigated by his armor, and he's going to hit them pretty easily because they only have 24. So yeah, it looks like he's doing all right in that low level engagement, even with no abilities whatsoever. So the kind of this is how I think of using these guys, if I can remember, is finding a good engagement like skink cohorts or spearmen or something, and throwing them in so they can actually, because they can do some real damage to these lower tier infantry. And while they're doing that damage, your runesmith can be casting his runes on this, that, or other, find a target for the Hammer of Karak draws, and help get rid of units like this faster, because usually you'll have your runesmith engaging with, you know, a unit of dwarf warriors, and they can support directly into the front line, and you know, generally do a good job. So your runesmith, what, he starts with 2,900, he's down to 22. He hasn't even lost a third of his hit points, and he's had no problem taking out these skink cohorts. So he's actually pulled value. So in general, your lords are quite good to get into these low tier infantry fights, although he's going to be exhausted. Yep. So with the exception of the fact, with the one exception that they can be vulnerable to getting rear charge. So I guess, yeah, 86 kills, very, very nice. So I guess in summary, looking at, you know, your you know, lords and heroes, your Thane, your runesmith, your master engineer, your regular lord, your rune lord, even with all his abilities, Ungrim Iron Fist, Grombrindle, and even Thorgrim struggled, but I know Thorgrim can win that because I've done some other testing and he can win that sometimes. Belegar, that's, you know, that's kind of shows, you know, I talked about every one of your lords has a different good use. There's no bad choices for your lords in an actual battle, but all of them you should be very careful about putting them into an infantry engagement, even against mid-tier infantry. But against low-tier infantry, you know, just they can all go. Your rune lord, even your master engineer, although you'd want him shooting at blobs of infantry, especially armored infantry, because he's going to do really good. But even your runesmith with no abilities, you know, I'm not that you would ever bring a runesmith like this, I don't think. 600? No. You might bring a Thane with no abilities. 650 for, I don't know, I can't even see a reason to do that. Their abilities are just too good. But yeah, so just wanted to go over some basics of using your lords and demonstrate the vulnerability of your lords in melee engagements. Against high tier infantry, they get really crushed, and so that's when I do my builds, you know, I don't mind just grabbing like a group of Longbeards or a group of Hammers and just sticking them on enemy lords. Like even if they got like a beefy lord like Kroq-Gar on Grimlock, you know, I know that Hammers can take Kroq-Gar on Grimlock because they're gonna hit him. Like he's not invincible. You know, he's only got 40 melee defense, and these guys got what, 46 melee attack, so they're gonna have a 46% chance to hit. Yeah, and they do a ton of weapon damage, you know, like 41 armor piercing, pretty good. Even these guys with 30 melee attack, and what did I say, he has 40 melee defense? Yep. So they're going to have a 30% chance to hit. So yeah, and you know, every single lord kind of has that problem. Even really good lords like you know, like good lords with high melee attack and melee defense like Thorgrim or Belegar are still going to struggle on those infantry blobs. So this is just a quick bit of testing, something interesting. I thought, I mean I found it interesting to do the testing, to have that knowledge in my pocket when I get into fights, to generally try and protect my lords from getting into those engagements, unless you have to. I mean, sometimes you have to throw your lord into a bad engagement because you're just getting crushed, which I've experienced. And you know, just to demonstrate the difference of your lord, you know, never discount Belegar Ironhammer as a pretty decent pick because he's so cheap. And you know, there are no bad picks in this whole lineup for your lords and your heroes, with the exception of the master engineer. But for your lords, there are no bad picks. There's just picks that will perform better or worse depending on the situation. And you can see what the situation is. You know, your lord is real cheap, is really a buffer. Your rune lord is really a buffer, super cheap. Belegar is going to be a little more reliable in those melee engagements. He's pretty damn tanky, and he looks freaking awesome. You know, Ungrim Iron Fist is amazing up against large. Grombrindle is a really nice combination of a lord for that magic damage and heavy armor piercing and high melee attack and flash bomb. And Thorgrim is really a lord for those buffs, you know, like particularly this one is just so powerful, that +9 melee attack. Because most of these buffs you see on lords, they only have 40 meter range, and his has a 55 meter range, which is why it's so good. So you can get him on at 1889, you can buff a lot of your troops. So that's the testing. That's you know, my take on it. I definitely love to hear some comments on Lords and using Lords better. I really don't use my Lords very well, which is kind of why I like the cheaper Lords. Like, I'll use my Rune Lord, you know, and I'll bring an ability like Master Rune of Negation and not even use it in the entire battle, which I've done before. But yeah, love to hear your experience with the Dwarf Lords, how you use them, how you think about them, why you choose some Lords over others. Like, have you used Belegar, you know, or Grombrindle, or Thorgrim, the basic Lord, and why did you find that they did or didn't perform in the situation they were in? Love to hear it. Love the comments. Hope you found it interesting, and I will see you soon.